Okay, this is going to be another video in terms of Yang and in terms of mostly Andrew Yang, but also focused on what I'm seeing as a pattern in a few of the different presidential candidates with regards to medical care degradation, which, in terms of quality of care, which is already pretty bad. Fact is that while most people are talking about in the populace, it seems, the fact that there's so many people not covered and therefore no ability to get medical care, the fact is that the most deaths are actually from preventable medical error, even by the official stats of preventable medical error. So when you get to the quote-unquote opioid crisis, in terms of people dying from the opioid epidemic, it's rather ridiculous and sick what they're proposing. Basically, it's further restrictions on what a doctor is allowed to do for their patient. One of the issues that I have right now, in terms of even reading Medicaid for All proposals, the latest one that I read from, I believe it's pronounced Jay Powell, is that it is doled out to bureaucrats first by region and then I believe by state and then furtherly by locality before it gets down to your actual doctor as to what will be covered versus what will not be. And to me that's a huge problem. It should be whatever your doctor deems necessary, and you agree that with them that this is what you want, this is a choice option that you and your medical team have discussed, that's what you should get. Nothing else but that, and then have the government be the billing mechanism. Okay, pay for it. That's it. May not, and again, I get the fact that there are people who say, well, how could you? It's like, point blank, we have computerized billing at this point. It shouldn't be even hard to do this. So that's a problem to me. But furtherly, with regards to specific to Yang, is that he's not even going with just the opioid further restrictions, which is to say chronic pain and also acute pain that can last for a few months as per a post-serious surgical procedure. I'm not talking about, having a tooth pulled, as has been exclaimed by clowns like Kristen Gillibrand, but I'm talking about, brain surgery, hip surgery, things that are serious. Those things should not be a matter of the person and or their caregiver needing to repeatedly visit the doctor just to pick up new prescriptions time after time. In terms of every 7 days, I believe, is a restriction. That's just plain ridiculous. But Yang is calling for further degradation, where he's claiming that it's because there's not enough primary care physicians in rural areas. So what he wants to do is he wants to create another type of designated medical professional that would be allowed to be your primary care physician, in essence, which is to say a primary care person that would act to, and he's claiming for like routine health screenings and what have you, and then would refer you to someone else that would be a real doctor if they felt you needed it. It's the opposite of sense. It's the opposite of really everything that's called for. If anything, what we need in terms of doctors to do and medical professionals to do is to spend more time direct care, hands-on with their patients, directly interacting with them, as opposed to staring at computer screens, looking at their lab reports and asking them 5 times within 10 minutes what the same exact question over and over again. And I've had this. And this is why, it's a ridiculous thing in terms of the construct of quality of care, and to say, well, we don't really need a doctor, we could use someone else. And it's like, no. We really don't. I've been, and I know many other people have been, and encountered the concept that we could see 5 or 10 doctors, but because none of them are listening, none of them are paying attention to us in terms of what we're actually saying, what we're actually showing them is wrong, we'll get worse care from all 10 combined than we will from the 11th or 12th one down the line that'll actually listen and really pay attention. And the fact also remains is that things get lost in communication between different members of a medical team. Just as it is in terms of the concept of eyewitnesses to a crime. Even if people are in the same room, they will remember things slightly differently. And it won't be a matter of any of them is necessarily lying, but their perspective will be different. And that's why I'm completely against the construct of having a middle ground professional do exams, this new title that would be allowed to be a primary care, when in reality, we need more primary care physicians to actually be physicians. So it's a really sick thing. And then he's also putting, having his, staff in the White House is another thing. He wants to track them and quote unquote monitor them with psychologists. And it's like, what? I understand if people want to, and I'm not putting people in any way down, but I'm saying if you're going to actually start to have an active program for monitoring the mental status of your staff and have them reporting in, that's really some insidious stuff. He's also advocating for the concept of, in terms of medical and in terms of as well religion, is he's saying that he wants to institute a mandatory education before he'll allow people to have their babies circumcised, their male children, babies circumcised. And I'm like, I'm not in favor of automatic, as apparently is done at this point. But I have a real problem if you're going to demand that I, as a Jewish woman, if I'm going to have a male kid, if you're going to say, oh, you have to have someone educate you on this, to give you the full facts. Sorry, no, I don't. This ceremony is done when the baby is 8 days old, so it's not like I'll eat. I mean, I don't plan on having drugs, but even if I was fully, drugged up for the concept of delivering a child, by 8 days later, there's no way I would be under the influence. So I'd be under a clear head. So to me, it's just another impingement on civil liberties. And again, my thing again with regards to single payer is that it should mean as really that government doesn't interfere. So, same thing with vaccines to me. It's a matter of you choose. And I'll make some different choices than someone else will. Both of us are entitled. And, again, that's one of the reasons that, to me, my concept of libertarian does not mean Koch brother. It does not mean what the Libertarian Party right now is, which often is extremely authoritarian, the opposite of the anti-authoritarian that I know it to mean. And therefore, it puts me at odds with some people in terms of what the definition of the word even is. So, and again, these issues are not exactly straightforward. But my overall, though, problem with Yang in terms of the platform is that most of the policies in and of themselves, and there's about 30 of the six, at least 20, if not 30 of them listed on the website, they're not extremely harmful in any way. At worst, they're just plain strange. But most of them are not going to cause any significant damage. And that's at least in and of themselves, especially since I understand some people with UBI, and at first I thought when he first proposed it, I thought maybe he could be nudged upwards. Maybe he could be nudged into some sense. And instead I watched the platform get worse and worse and worse. So, read up on it. It's sickening. And again, at this point, one of my biggest questions for him is, when did you come up with these platform plans? Was it all at once? Because that gives one perspective. Or was it slowly people that are your advisors saying, oh, let's have this one, let's have that one, let's have the other one? Unfortunately, I have a feeling it's the first one, which is rather scary. Shalom.